Even the longest, most tedious movies include just a fraction of what was filmed during the production process. And while most deleted scenes are usually deleted for a reason, unfortunately sometimes they do hold key answers to some of cinema's greatest questions, and for whatever reason, they were still left out of the final picture. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 more deleted scenes that explain confusing sci-fi movie moments. Number 8, what's the deal with the Waitress, the Avengers? Though The Avengers is an excellent superhero film, there is a bit of, let's say, weirdness to its construction. It was no doubt a massive, near impossible feat to get the movie made at all, never mind have it be as good as it was. So it's unsurprising that a few odd creative choices or lingering questions remained in the finished cut. Of the many of these, one of the most unassuming yet persistent was just why so much focus was put on a random waitress during the Battle of New York. With so many people in the city in peril, why keep cutting back to her? Well, it turns out that this waitress, played by The Last of Us's Ashley Johnson, held more significance in the original script. In a deleted scene from much earlier in the movie, this waitress serves Steve at a coffee shop. They share a nice exchange, talk about Tony Stark, and Stan Lee himself then even tells Steve that he should have asked for her number. This doesn't change the narrative by any means, but it does explain why she's the focal point of scenes later on, as the audience and Steve were supposed to have a connection to her before crap hits the fan. Number 7, why does ROBOCOP have a human hand? ROBOCOP. A reboot of the classic sci-fi adventure of the same name, 2014's ROBOCOP stars Joel Kinnaman, Gary Oldman, Michael Keaton, and Samuel L. Jackson. Did this stellar cast save it from getting bad reviews though? Well, let's not go there right now, shall we? The movie, of course, tells the story of Alex Murphy, a police officer who becomes the titular character when he is severely injured in an explosion. However, Alex's transformation into ROBOCOP comes with one notable difference from the original. Whilst most of his body is replaced with cybernetics, Alex retains his right hand in its full human form. And before you guess why, no, get your brain out of the gutter. The reason is not that. The real reason for this odd decision is revealed in a scene cut from the movie's final edit. The CEO of Omnicorp, the organization who designed RoboCop's exoskeleton, says that his father taught him that a lot can be learned about a person through their handshake. As a result, Alex's hand is kept intact. Not only does this explain the bizarre decision, but it also exposes Omnicorp's disregard for human life by playing around with a human body in this way. Number 6, why is old Biff in pain? Back to the Future Part 2. The sequel to the extraordinary Back to the Future might not be as influential or as well loved as its predecessor, but it's still a great watch with a compelling plot. In the movie, Marty's nemesis, Biff Tannen, travels back in time to give his younger self a copy of a sports almanac. Young Biff then uses his knowledge of upcoming sporting events to make huge amounts of money and completely take over Hill Valley. One scene from the movie that has always baffled fans, though, is when old Biff returns to the future. He is in a lot of pain, stumbling around and moaning as if something has happened to him, but we never see what or why. Well, in a deleted scene, it's revealed that Biff is actually feeling the effects of being written out of existence. His actions in the past alter the timeline, and this version of old Biff eventually fades out of existence, just like Marty almost did in the first film. So, as it turns out, old Biff's pain was self-inflicted. Now, is it horrible to watch a man in agony as he's erased from history? Well, yeah. But do we feel sorry for him? Well, absolutely not. Number 5, how is the Mac compatible with alien tech? Independence Day. Independence Day is a fantastic movie that was ruined when they decided to make a daft sequel to it years later. The film's 2 main heroes are Captain Stephen Hiller, a fighter pilot played by Will Smith, and David Levinson, Jeff Goldblum's computer whiz. Levinson helps fight off the alien invaders by creating a computer program to disrupt their defenses. But hang on, he wrote a virus that worked against alien technology on a Mac from the 90s? How is that possible? No way that works. Well, according to a deleted scene, it absolutely does. In some footage released to celebrate the film's 20th anniversary, David is given access to the spaceship that crashed in Roswell in 1947. David uses the ship, which came from the same planet as the invaders, to reverse engineer his program and eventually save the day. And this kind of makes perfect sense. The confusion surrounding this scene would have been spared if it was left in the movie, or at least referred to by one of the characters. Number 4, how did the Guardians find Titan? Avengers Infinity War. Before it turned every single cinema goer into sobbing messes, 2018's Avengers Infinity War showed all of our favourite Marvel heroes coming together to take on Thanos. The first major crossover takes place when Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange meet up with the Guardians of the Galaxy on Thanos' home planet of Titan. The 3 Earthbound heroes all got there by stowing away on a ship, but how did the Guardians know where Thanos was? Well, it turns out they have Nebula to thank for that. After their initial run-in with the big bad leads to Gamora being kidnapped, the Guardians are left dejected. They then receive word of where she's been taken after the adopted sister and fellow Thanos hater Nebula transmits her location via a secret message channel. The deleted scene, entitled "The Guardians Get Their Groove Back," is full of the troop's trademark humor, and there's even a joke about Drax misunderstanding the phrase, "If it's yellow, let it mellow." That should have absolutely made it in the final cut of the movie. Although, considering that Infinity War had a runtime of 2 hours and 29 minutes, maybe it's best this was left on the cutting room floor. Number 3, why does Scotty care so much about Peter? Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. In the second Star Trek movie, a particularly confusing scene takes place when a young member of the Enterprise's crew is brought to the sick bay. Peter Preston, an engineer's mate, is injured during Khan's attack and is brought in for treatment by Montgomery Scott. Unfortunately, despite everyone's efforts, Peter dies. Now, Scotty is in pieces upon seeing the young lad's death, breaking down when he discovers that the boy is gone. This has kind of confused many Star Trek fans for years, though. I mean, sure, of course, it's sad to see a member of your crew die under tragic circumstances, especially one so young. But Scotty reacts here as if they were related or something. And that's because they actually were. In dialogue cut from the theatrical release, Kirk meets Peter during an inspection of the ship. The youngster talks back to him, prompting Kirk to ask his old pal Scotty who he is. Scotty replies, "My sister's youngest," confirming that he is Peter's uncle. This one line adds so much more gravity to Peter's death scene, and it's not hard to see why it's been restored in various updated versions of the film since. Number 2, why the unicorn? Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a bit like that old joke about a broom. I mean, how many times can you change the handle and the brush head and it still be the same item? Well, in the case of Ridley Scott's 1982 masterpiece, 7 different versions of the film exist, making it incredibly difficult to determine what the real cut of the movie is. So, because we've had so much more content released over the years, stuff that has confused viewers at the time has been explained ad nauseum today, but it's still worth discussing. Fans of the original cut, for instance, were always confused about the significance of the origami unicorn left to protagonist Rick Deckard by his fellow police officer. Why was this left? What does it mean? Well, initial viewers kind of just had no idea. Considering that the unicorn is present right at the end of the film and seemingly means something quite profound to Deckard, you would think that the movie would have taken more time in explaining its significance. Well, answers were finally found a decade later when the director's cut was released. Footage of Deckard dreaming of a unicorn was reinserted into the movie, tying back to the origami in a much more satisfying way. Number 1, why is the T-800 more human? Terminator 2: Judgment Day. For the follow-up to his haunting 1984 movie The Terminator, James Cameron brilliantly decided to switch up the formula and have the villainous robot from the first movie join the good guys. As we all know now, Arnold Schwarzenegger returns as the T-800, a futuristic killing machine reprogrammed by the Resistance to protect a young John Connor. The machine and the young boy form a strong bond over the course of the film, leading to the movie's emotional climax. But wait a second, how did Arnie go from being a ruthless murderer to cracking one-liners? We know he was reprogrammed, yes, but surely he wasn't reprogrammed to learn the phrase "hasta la vista, baby." Well, in a scene missing from the original release of Terminator 2, we see John's mother Sarah doing some more tinkering with the T-800. After originally going to smash the machine's CPU, she instead disarms the software that prevents it from learning human behavior. She then reinserts the CPU and the rest is action movie history. So, that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these deleted scenes, and are there any others that are integral to movies that you wished remained in the final cut? Let me know, and while you're in the comments as well, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to What Culture for more lists and news like this on the regular. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.